Is up, everyone? Welcome to level 7. It's so nice to be here with you all. The Mandalorian has come to a close, and we are going to break it all down for you. My name is TJ Zwarich, editor in chief of Agents of Fandom.com, joined as always by my good buddy, my best friend Garrett Blaney. How you doing?
I'm good. Ready to close out this section of Mando. Get it busting.
No kidding. And we brought in not one, but two agents here with us full time for the full episode because these two have been covering The Mandalorian since the get go. Laila over on the Fandom Academy podcast, Adam with his incredible reviews up at agentsofandom.com. First up, Adam, always with us, but in a bigger role today, ready to tell me he told me so.
Oh man, no, well, I'm not gonna get into an "I told you so" fest with you, buddy. No, I'm just excited to be here with the three of you to talk about it. I will say I'm incredibly sad that this season has come to a close. It's been one of the thrills of my life to be able to cover this show and talk about it. Even though it's a season that I had a lot of ups and downs with, I'm still very sad that it's coming to a close. But I'm excited to talk about it with you guys, and I'm ready to get going. Let's do it.
I am ready. There was so many times throughout the season that I was just pumping, hey, even if people don't like the story, this is the story they're telling, guys. It is what it is. But then they never actually did. They kind of switched back and forth, and so I don't know what was going on, but I know I enjoyed a lot of it, and the less I thought about it, the more I liked it more. Layla, what did you think of the season? What did you think of the episode, and how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm excited to be back. It's been a while. I said from the beginning, like, I don't really care what happens. I just love the Mandalorian, and I've been so spoiled this year. Like, we started off the year with The Last of Us, and then it overlapped with Mando, and I was just like, they did this for me as a Pedro Pascal enjoyer. Like, this was my year. But I loved this season. I can see where everyone's concerns are coming from, but I'm just ignoring all of them because I had a good time, and The Mandalorian will always be my favorite thing ever, so I had a great time.
It was fun, whether or not there were like some plot things people didn't like or just flat out writing issues. It was fun. It was an absolutely enjoyable experience. And Adam, you wrote about it in up on agentsofandom.com, and right in your initial sentence, I think it says you said it best. This, if you can look back past some indefensible choices this episode, it has a lot to offer, and I kind of want to go over maybe our kind of qualms first and foremost, or we can lead into them when they get them. But I figure if we get the bad stuff out of the way, then we can kind of have the rest of the time for just be like, yeah, Grogu, Mando, and just kind of cheering and getting excited about things the rest of the time here. But Adam, I want to throw it to you first. Garrett and I kind of had a conversation off air about how we kind of both agreed that it seemed like they just got Giancarlo Esposito for like a day or two, and they had to like get all of his stuff in at like one cool point. Like, what do you think, Adam?
No, it really does kind of feel like that. And I'm on record as being one of those guys that I enjoy like a really fleshed out villain throughout the course of the season. That like I would have liked to have seen him a little bit earlier. I know that reveal wouldn't have hit quite the same. And it's not, we've already seen Giancarlo's Moff Gideon for 2 seasons now. So I'm not too worried about, like, it's not like, oh man, I've never seen him, so now it's this big deal because we just don't have enough time. Like we know pretty well like what kind of character he is and what his intentions are. So I'm able to look past that kind of thing because I did really all the Giancarlo stuff, the Moff Gideon stuff was really, really cool to me, especially with him in his new armor. Even though if we have permission to talk about nitpicks now, I'm still, however he got all that
Permission
armor,
granted.
who was helping them forge all that Beskar and do all that stuff, I guess we'll never know.
Who are the spies?
Who were the spies that told
No.
Elijah
You're opening the
Kane
floodgates.
I guess
That was happening right now. 'Cause I'm ready to get into it. Because those things, all of those things, greatly piss me off. I agree with some things that were said about. There's a lot of really fun things in this episode, but all that can get tossed in the trash when you think about it feels like it was written by a pack of 14-year-olds. I think a pack of 14-year-olds could have written this finale better. Narratively, it is one of the worst things I've ever fucking witnessed. Like, it's honestly, narratively, it's an atrocious. It's atrocious. Like, it is an atrocity. It is. Where does Grogu come from? How does Grogu save Din when they just get locked on the other side? The previous episode, he's locked on the other side of a door. How does that happen? Please tell me how that happens.
He's a magic baby.
He's a magic baby. Yeah.
He
Okay.
goofed and he goofed and he blew that door down.
I'm gonna tread around this very lightly because this is a very important moment in a series, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But something happens in this episode that is basically a retread of another very important thing in another episode of Star Wars, and it essentially lessens that for me. It really dials back the blow of that first incident, and I think it's honestly it's such a horrible decision. It makes me so mad. I've been waiting days to talk about this episode because my blood is boiling with the choices that were made. It's horrendous.
Oh God.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and we will for certain moments I may only throw it to Adam for just so that things that he hasn't seen, we won't have to worry about spoiling them, and he can just give his take on it. But Laila, I'm gonna throw it to you. Why was this the best episode ever? Bring us back up.
I mean, it wasn't the best episode ever. I never said that, but like, it was good. I said from the first day, I was like, all I want is for Din and Grogu to just be happy, and they got that little happy ending. And I know that this is Star Wars and happy endings don't exist. I'm aware of that. But for now, they're at peace. Just let them be. Just let them please. Just have a minute to themselves. Like, they've been through enough. There are some choices that I'm like, okay, something else could have happened there to make it a little bit better. But, okay. I'm sorry, Garrett. I understand where you're coming from. But I enjoyed it. The action was great. Everything that happened was great. I don't know. I'm in the minority here, it seems, but I really love it.
I agree. The action is fantastic. There's cinematically there's a lot of highs, but the narrative is literally so awful that I can't even enjoy those things happily without having to be like, it makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. I'm baffled by the decision.
Listen, if Din Djarin was on the opposite side of a wall looking that good, I would break through the wall too somehow, okay?
Look, what makes the last episode so strong is that it leans on the teases for this episode. And is the spy the armor? Is it Axe Woves? It's interwoven so well into that episode. And to pay off exactly 0% of those things, it makes that episode not as good. And that's sad because the previous episode was incredible. And now after I've watched the other one, I can't appreciate it as much.
It did. I had the kind of same qualms, and then admittedly, when the cute green baby started hopping around, I forgot about all of them. Getting to see Grogu go up against the three enforcers with Moff Gideon and Din Djarin fighting side by side, using the Force to bop these guys around. It was so incredible. I loved it so much. Adam, I feel like that was kind of the scene you've been hoping for this whole season.
Oh my gosh. I cannot tell you like the emotional nirvana that I was on. Like when the doors first closed and they were like beating IG-12 back into the thing and then the doors, and I was on the verge of having a complete fucking panic attack. Like I was, and I knew like in my head, I'm like, okay, they're not going to kill. Like I was really confident they weren't going to kill Grogu. Like I don't think Disney would do something like that, but I was still absolutely going through. And then when they were flipping, or when he was doing the little flips around, which I saw a really, really funny tweet that said that when they're doing all this stuff with Grogu, it's so clear that they just turned the camera on and chucked the puppet in the air. And that's exactly what it looked like. It looks awful, but I just don't care. It's like, Layla,
so
you're
funny
talking about,
though.
I know you're talking about being in the minority. Like, Garrett and I were talking about this a lot yesterday. Like, I still, there's so many problems with this episode, but to see them have a happy ending and all that stuff, and then to see them in that scene fight side by side. Somebody called me out on Twitter a couple of weeks ago when I said that I wanted to see Grogu do some more meaningful things. They were like, we can't be expecting Grogu to give intelligent soliloquies about the Force. He's still a baby. And I was like, if you're that like narrow-sighted that you think the only things that he can do are either sit there and look cute or stand up there and give a intelligent soliloquy in front of 50 people, like that's just stupid, and it doesn't make any sense. And we've got
there is a middle ground, people.
There absolutely is a middle ground, and we've gotten to see it in the last couple episodes, and like to see them fight side by side. Like I tweeted about it, but like I was literally tearing up. I was welling up because those two and their relationship means so much to me. And to see them fighting for nothing else but just for each other, because that's all they were fighting for in that scene was just for each other, man. It was perfect to me. Like that erases, like not really erases, like I still recognize them, but like it just washes out a lot of the other problems that I have because it just means so much to me.
On the grand scale of my problems with the episode, this is very low on it. However, I could have used with one or two less cuts to that room of them trying to like stab him off the railing. Like, how long are you expecting me to? Yeah, that he's gonna dodge them. Like, come on, one cut and it was hilarious. It's perfect, and cut back to it like 3 or 4 times, and it dulls the moment for me, man. Come on, what are we doing? But them fighting together, against the Praetorian Guards is peak Star Wars, and that I want to be able to like that stuff so much, and then the narrative of how we get there just completely ruins it for me.
Things felt a little bit kind of throughout the season where we talk about filler episodes in a season. It does feel a little bit kind of like a filler season with sort of everything that were the big important moments boiled down to just a man and his baby becoming father and son. And shout out to Rick Famuyiwa, one of my favorite did my favorite directing job from this series, and he said when I interviewed him at the beginning of the season, so many people are asking me about like, will Grogu be a Mandalorian? Will Grogu be a Jedi? At the end of the day, this story is about fatherhood and family. And we see that at the end. And what I do like is we're kind of set up here going for season 4 with, I'm going to be expecting a lot of Grogu and Din fighting together now. Let's get one thing clear out of the way. We'll talk more about the end of this after. I don't care if they have different customs. It's Din Grogu and Din Djarin. We can still call them Din and Grogu. It doesn't matter. They have different customs.
That made no sense. Come on. I'm overthinking it. It's stupid.
So dumb. So dumb. Oh my gosh.
I did like a double take, like one of those rewind the tape, like it's a bzzz. I was like, wait, what? Did I just hear that right? Like I had to rewind. I was like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
So unnecessary.
Djarin? Hell no.
No, you can still call him Din, but that's what it comes down to. I guarantee you that meeting in the script writing room came down to like, Grogu Djarin kind of sounds weird. Din Grogu sounds better. And that's just, that was the reason. That was it. That's all.
So if Bo adopts Grogu, are we supposed to assume that he goes by Bo Grogu? Like, what is the system for this? We know Mandalorian, like this is, I don't understand the reason for this. There's just no reason to introduce this philosophy into the lore. I don't know. So mad.
And they could have explained it in like a minute. Like when the armorer was talking about it, she could have said like exactly why. Like, given that Din is your, like, and I'll always take more Emily Swallow. She's incredible when she is there and starts talking. But they could have explained it so easily. Like, why? Like, just take 30 seconds. Like, given that Din is your blank, blank, blah, blah, whatever name, I shouldn't even be the one having to talk about this because it should have been in the episode in the first place. But it could have been explained so easily, and it just didn't make any sense.
It does come down to a lot of like, why was this episode only 38 minutes? I feel very similarly about this episode specifically that I do about Thor, Love, and Thunder. Where it's like, there were parts that I loved, but it would have been a lot better with 20 more minutes of context. Same with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I think Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is a lot better than Thor, Love, and Thunder. But same issues, that it's like, you had all the ingredients cooking right here. We're trying to let you cook. Why aren't you turning the stove on? Like, why are you only putting it in the microwave? You have all of these great ingredients. Why are you only giving us microwave food instead of like a nice meal prepared over the grill, you know? Like, we want to let you cook. Don't give us 38 minutes. Don't give us the microwave meal. Give us all of these characters we love and all this excitement for a little bit longer, so you can explore this dialogue a little bit more, fill in some of those gaps. What this episode wasn't lacking, though, was action. Some of the action that we got to see was so incredible. Now, aside from one more thing of like a payoff from last episode that didn't come, like Paz Vizsla, great fight, ends the episode. See you, Paz. Nobody cares. We're gonna give your
not
son.
even mentioned. Not even mentioned.
We're gonna make your son a Mandalorian now, but other than that, we don't give a fuck. This is the way. Let's talk about the action though, because getting to see all these Mandos go toe to toe. Axe Woves did his thing. He got the help. He flew his ship. Not going to Garrett for that one. Let's talk about the Mando on Dark Trooper action though, with specifically like speaking of Thor: Love and Thunder, the Thor-esque armor flying around with her little hammers.
Oh my god.
Laila, take it away.
When that came on, I was like, fuck my life. So cool. And I'm so mad that like we've only seen her in action like this season. Like, where has she been all this time swinging her hammers around? Like, I was like, whoa, come on now. That was sick. That was like my favorite bit of the episode. That was my favorite bit of action. She just looks so fucking cool. I love her.
Yeah, every time she beats someone's ass, it looks the coolest. It really does.
And the sound of those hammers just hitting somebody upside the head. I could just listen to like that sound on repeat.
Yeah.
That was the thing. That was another part of this episode that it was like, well, this didn't take the story turn I kind of hoped for, but all my people are happy, so I'm kind of happy too. I'm going to go to the Calgary Expo in 2 weeks and in a week now, and talk to Emily Swallow and go, that was so dope when you were swinging that hammer around, instead of going, how dare you try and kill my little green baby? Like, you know what I mean? Having that conversation is going to be so much more fun. Adam, what did you think about the Mando on Mando action?
It was great. All the action, like Laila hit on that all that flying stuff was so cool. Like between the armor, like bashing people in the head with her little hammer and tong things, and then Bo-Katan flying around with the Darksaber and slicing people. Like all that stuff was so great. And it would have been, I know that took, like, a shout out to the VFX team and all those people, because I know that was a pain to get all that stuff to look good. And I thought it looked really good. Like I was never like, there was never one shot for like 5 seconds where I was like, that looks like complete crap. But then to me, like the highlight action scene to me, even though I think all of them are great, was the Divider Shield fight. That was just like a top tier hand-to-hand Star Wars fight. Like that felt so much to me as somebody that's recently seen John Wick. You know, I wrote a review for it for agentsofandom.com. What a great website. Go check that out. But it felt so much like
shout out to
watching John Wick,
because I don't know if we can legally say what a great website after agentsofandom.com without giving them their shout out.
Is that is what a great website? Do they have that copyright?
I don't know. Somebody got mad. I saw people in the Facebook group getting mad the other day when somebody called their podcast a deep dive, and they were like, "That's Jason and Mal's thing," and I'm like, those are just common words. So, you know, just in case. We love theringer.com and the Ringerverse. So shouts to them. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. That's funny. But like that whole scene, it felt so John Wick, yes, because like in every John Wick fight, it's obviously great hand-to-hand combat, but then like he gets his ass kicked like for a good point. And then was getting his ass kicked, but then was like coming back and like winning every fight like strong, and then was ready to move. My only, you know, Carlos was talking about this in the chat the other day too. Yeah. My only quarrel with that whole thing was kept cutting back to R5. Like I was like, just hearing Den say open the next shield would have been enough. We don't have to keep cutting back and seeing the mouse droids. But that actually reminds me of a question I want to ask you guys. Is there any more of a recognizable sound in all of pop culture than that little mouse droid sound that like dun, 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 dun? Is there any more? Like, you could be on the verge of death, like in a coma with your eyes closed, barely able to hear. But if you hear that, you're gonna know what it is. Like as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, these are gonna be mouse droids. Like, and I like mouse droids, but like that's got to be like the most recognizable sound, definitely in Star Wars, but like maybe in all of pop culture.
I don't know, man. I gotta say, I feel like there's a lot more.
What the noise is?
I feel like there's a lot more recognizable sounds in Star Wars, to be honest with you. Like even just a lightsaber like fight feels like more. an R2D2 beat
It's
seems more.
R2D2, like when I hear
Like, I don't know. I don't
He
want
sounds just like all the other astromechs. No,
I don't know what his
That's a
droid
more
sounds
recognizable
like.
sound. I'm
know
not
what
saying
an
you're wrong.
Elf
I just
sounds like.
personally, I feel I can. Some other ones pop into my head first, but I respect
Darth
that. I love
Vader
it.
breathing sound
Heyman
in
said, yeah, Darth
chat.
Vader,
Chat's
that's
going
good.
wild. You know, we got shout out to the people watching us on Twitch right now. Shout out to the people watching us on YouTube, where we are back live streaming because we finally figured out how to stream live properly without any issues. Knock on wood. And so shout out to the people
Yay.
watching on YouTube. Hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that notification bell. People watching on Twitch, shout out to you as well. We got 18 people there right now, and look, if we hit 20, I made this deal with the Twitch chat at the beginning. If we hit 20, I'm going to bring in these cute little 3-pound each 5-week-old dogs that I'm fostering in to come say hello for this conversation. So tell your friends, call them over, and get them to come into the chat if you want to see some cute puppies. I think I also need double digits likes on YouTube. We're almost there, so go over there and give us that thumbs up as well. People listening on podcast form, thank you so much. Make sure you rate us 5 stars and leave a nice little review. Now, Garrett, what of all those action sequences we talked about, whether it's the armor with her hammers or the door scene, what are or the Din and Grogu fighting side by side, like what kind of tops the list to you for like the top action sequence from that episode?
Wow, that's a tough question. I'll say Din hallway fight, Din and Grogu room fight, and then the flying hammers and Darksaber. Though it's very close. It's a very close decision between all three. All three are great sequences. That's a tough question.
They're all like, none are bad. They're also exceptional, and I think I ranked the Din and Grogu 1, followed by the hallway for like the doors for me, followed by the armors. How about you, Laila?
My favorite was the shield one. Something about one of my favorite scenes in the entirety of The Mandalorian. I think it's in season 1 where he's in like the prison and like the red lights are flashing behind him. He's in a hallway. Something about him in red lighting. I was sat there like biting my fist, like fuck. Wow. Okay.
That's the coolest hallway in existence, and it's not a contest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was my favorite for sure. Probably that, and then the armor, and then the Din and Grogu. Something about Grogu fighting, I'm still not used to it. I'm just used to him still being just like a little baby, just like sat there looking all cute. I mean, I like it. He's very cool and great skills, but I don't know. It just feels weird to me. It feels off, but I like it. It was great.
How about you, Adam?
First, it's tough. Like, if I'm just rating the pure action, like the hallway fight's got to be 1. But then, like, probably, and again, if I'm just going off of action, we're gonna say hallway fight 1, and then the flying fight 2, and then probably the Din and Grogu fight 3, just based off the action. But then, like, with the emotion that I felt within those fights, like the Din and Grogu fight is 1 by far. And then, like, if I'm just going off the emotion, like after Din and Grogu, I'll say the hallway fight. And then but to rank that flying scene fight 3rd really speaks volumes to how great, like within an episode of Star Wars, like that we can rank that 3rd and nobody be outraged that it's like, that's how good the action in this whole episode was. Oh, and I guess TJ just hated my point that much that he just got right up and walked away.
No, I think we got enough views and likes to get the pups in here. Is what
Nice.
I still need one more person to go hit the like on YouTube, but other than that, we're good to go. This is why you got to catch it in video form as well, because we always got pups showing up. This is Sabine and Ezra, 2 characters we are, of course, excited to see in the next upcoming Star Wars show, Ahsoka. And they're just these sweet little Binus who are gonna hang out with us for a while. They're 5 weeks old, nice and sweet. We could spend more time talking about, all of Moff Gideon's clones and how he developed how he learned how to put the Force in his clones. I guess that's why he was going after Grogu at the beginning. We could talk about why did they show us Dr. Pershing in episode 3 and then never really go back to it. Not a lot of it makes sense, but we could instead just talk about the fun stuff and the things that this leads us to, because without there being spies, this does lead us to have the Mandalorians kind of coming out of this stronger and more unified than ever. And we're going to see this at the end. And that is one storyline from this season that I thought they did do a pretty good job of, because you look at something like the dark saber and how important this figure and this MacGuffin has been to Mandalorian culture for years, and they just broke it like it was nothing this episode. Now it may just get rebuilt. That absolutely could just happen. We know now that sometimes they show us consequences that end up just getting pulled back. But even if it is broken, to me, what this kind of showed was the main theme of the episode was, or sorry, the main theme of the season was Mandalorians are stronger together, and we need to get over our stupid reasons for being divided. Whether it's whether it's helmet or no helmet, whether it's how you view the dark saber, it doesn't. None of that shit matters. What matters is we need to all get on the same page and be together here. And I think that was something they actually did a good job of accomplishing this episode.
It was very much an Asgard is a people, not a place
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yes.
I agree. And eliminating the Darksaber really is a good vehicle for that. And now I think it allows us to maybe have something cool with a mythosaur, like the person who eventually rises up to be the leader of Mandalore will either defeat the mythosaur in battle or like ride it like our Ugnaught friend Queel so funnily jested our Mandalorian friend for not being able to ride as well as his ancestors. So I think it leaves some wiggle room for that possibility in the future. So
for that possibility, and there was a tease at the end there that we'll talk about right before we get out of here, but there are also more doors left open between whether it's Bo-Katan and Din having a little something in the future, or the vibes we got at the beginning where the the Bo-Katan and Armorer ship, it's alive and well, Laila. It's alive and well now.
Hell yeah. There was Emily Swallow posted a little artwork on her Instagram story earlier of Bo-Katan in the armor, and it's giving me the same energy as Pedro sharing one of Cobb Vanth and Mando. I was like, yes, finally, please, someone acknowledge this. Give me
validation.
Yes, that's all I need. That's all I need. That's all I care about. And when Pedro posted that, I was like, yeah, he knows. Emily knows. They all know. Just give me it. It's like a Finn Poe scenario. I'm just like, please, you've teased this. Please, just give me something. I need it.
Every single thing that Star Wars gives us, every time they kind of like tease potential like a romance of two characters, it's never as good as what the romance between what they try and write as friendships would be. Whether it's Finn and Poe, whether it's Armor and Bo-Katan, or whether it's Din Djarin and Cobb Vanth, like whatever they try and write as friendships always comes off with so much sexual tension, and anything they try and write as sexual tension always, almost not always, but almost always comes off kind of cringy. But we got the last bits to talk about here. I had a busy day today. I'm going rundownless. People we're freeballing this one. I don't know if that was the term I should have used, but we're going to continue. Anyways, we are raw dogging this podcast, and
okay, he knows what he's doing.
After all,
do you know what that word means?
Dogs here.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. And so they win. All is said and done, they win. Din and Grogu, good. No spies, and they eventually take this back to the big Mandalorian celebration. The creed is spoken. Young Vizsla, what's his name again? Sounds like a dinosaur. Ragnar. Speaking of all of these Asgardian what's the word I'm looking for? Metaphors
Words.
and
Yeah, that too.
comparisons we've been making this whole time. Words are so fucking hard. Thanks for sticking with us. The guy's name is Ragnar Rock. Come on, maybe this is the guy that's going to be bringing down the Mandalorians after Grogu tries to unite them. But Ragnar and Grogu both are now full-on Mandalorians, and so obviously we're going to talk a bit more about the Grogu and Mando becoming father and son bit, but Adam, this was the only Vizsla reference we got in this entire episode. The dude sacrificed himself for everybody, and nobody talks about it except Ragnar Vizsla is now a Mandalorian. Do you think this guy's going to be an important part of the future, or was that just a little ode to the dad?
Man, that's a good question. I really don't foresee him being like a huge part. But I mean, then again, I say that and I'm thinking we opened up this season with him. He was the opening shot. But then it's like, also before I talk about that any further, I do want to say it's incredibly stupid that during that scene they didn't even mention his dad once, like in honor of his father who gave his words are hard, Jesus Christ, who gave his life bravely, like fighting for the fellow Mandalorians, like just nothing. Like they don't even like they had like a fastball straight down the middle, just like to knock one out of the park and give a little payoff there for him, and then they just kind of refuse to acknowledge it, which I think is stupid. But I don't know. I can see them. Maybe that's what all the references. Him getting eaten and captured and all this stuff. Like he was always in trouble. Wasn't he? Was the same. He got captured. He almost got eaten by the big alligator thing in the beginning. So like it would seem a little too like wishful thinking for that to just be complete coincidence, like and not
He's a young
have any
Din
kind of meaning
Djarin.
behind it.
Just always.
They shouldn't have had their base
dying.
set up there in the first place. Like, poor planning for the Mandalorians to have their base set up right beside like giant crocodiles and flying bird dragons, which I'm a little surprised. Come to think, I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about that. They kind of adopted those things and then we just never.
Yeah, where are they?
Saw them like they weren't even at the final festivities. Like they weren't. That seems like the kind of thing that maybe this episode being 38 minutes, maybe there's 5 more minutes.
I didn't even think about that. That makes me so much more mad. That's just another loose end that they didn't tie up. Come on, man. Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous.
I can see that being like 3 more minutes of footage with those things in there, and then they were looking like this is going to take so long to edit these things. They were like, just don't do it. Like that's the kind of thing I can see them doing for that. But I was wondering, like near the end, I was like, where were those birds? Like they made a big deal of bringing those things off, and then we just never see them again. So
totally forgot about those. Hopefully they pop back up at some point in the future. Laila, with you here potentially being close to Garrett somewhat in the future, remind me as like a housewarming present to get you some boxing gloves just in case you guys get on opposite sides about the Mandalorian. Remind me to get you some boxing gloves, just so in case you guys got to go toe to toe here. But let's talk about not his name, Din Grogu. Let's talk about everything else involved with Din Grogu. I got big vibes there where I can't even believe I'm forgetting the show right now. But it was like where they're telling the kid, they're like, we want to adopt you, and he's like, this is The Blind Side. The Blind Side with the movie about Michael Oher. That's what I'm thinking of. When Sandra Bullock's telling him, she's like, and Tim McGraw's there, and they're like, we'd like to adopt you. And he's like, we'd like to make you our son. And he's like, I kind of thought I already was. I've been living here for a really long time. That was the vibe that I got here. How about you, Garrett?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm so happy for them. It's a big step. But it does feel a little bit like this wasn't already a thing. Like he wasn't already your son. Like it feels like it's just in title only, because they definitely felt that way internally about each other regardless. So I guess it's just for us and to bestow upon him the fucking new name of bullshit, or whatever it was. Sorry.
Laila, how about you?
Yeah, I mean. Oh wait, what was the question?
What did you think about the scene initiating Grogu officially as Din's son? Was it like super big and cool for you, or was it like hasn't he always been?
No, I was like, oh, okay. I thought you were already his dad. We've been through this a few times. Everyone already knows that that's his son. So I don't know. Why do you have to sign some papers or something? I want to see that scene. I want him signing the fucking adoption papers next season or something. Like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of like unnecessary because he is, but I guess it was for like the good of the creed. Like Grogu had to have his permission, and he does not like officially his parents. So I guess there's that side of it. But yeah, he was already his son. I don't know.
He was like, I want to do this. And she was like, you can't do this. And he was like, well, what if I do this loophole?
What if I do this?
Yeah. And she was like, well, I guess I can't stop you. And that's what happens. And now we are where we are.
Shout
Yeah,
out
it was like
to.
it was one of those. All right, go ahead.
Oh, you go, Adam. I was just gonna say shout out to Emma and chat, our resident lawyers, saying contracts or it didn't happen.
There we go.
I just like, for me, that scene, it was really touching because like in that scene we see a perfect example of how like Mandalorians are still like a very technical people. Like I know they've come a long way, but it's still, she was like, nope, like he's not ready to do this yet because he can't speak. Like it's not, you would think after so much of the change we've been through this season and like the armor has seen their bond, like she'd be more than willing to kind of sign off on that willingly. But then she's like, nope, because he can't speak, and it was still like this big technical thing. So that for me, like, because they wouldn't really acknowledge it, like to them, even though he's technically, quote, I guess like before he's just been a foundling in Din's care, like I guess was his technical title. Like to see him now be officially like a Mandalorian apprentice, like officially adopted and acknowledged as his son. Like there's no question anymore that they're going to be split up for some other kind of quest. Like it's still, it is goofy because it's one of those things we've known all along since like halfway through season 1. He's been his son. Yes, like you're right. But it still hit for me because it just kind of solidified that like this is about their bond and we're not steering away from that anymore.
My
I'd
question
be lying
is,
if I said I was sorry. I was gonna say I'd be lying if I said I wasn't bawling my eyes out. Like I'm saying it wasn't needed, but I was still crying in the corner. Like
Same.
I just want to know, like, is it like, what's the difference between having a child and like a foundling? Is it like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle isn't a square? Like, can I have a son, but choose to have my son be the foundling of another Mandalorian? Because I just don't think I'm a good teacher. Like, what's the line? I would assume like your son is just automatically your foundling. So why is he like, well, I'll just adopt him then, and now he's my actual son, and I can just circumvent the foundling rule? Like, it's just so weird. It's just red
Look,
tape.
I
Yeah,
gotta-
we're not
Fan
gonna
of the
explain,
Mandalorian
we're not gonna
finale,
explain
yeah,
who the
buddy.
spies are or how they mined the Beskar and made the
Look,
Dark
let
Troopers.
Look,
it go.
Garrett,
Let it
as soon as
go.
you talked about squares and rectangles, we're gonna have to cut you off because I know what Laura Croft and those little squares and rectangle pixels do to you, and I am not about to let you get crazy like that on live internet. I'm here to protect you. We could speculate about all the goodness that fanfic is going to give us with Din now just chilling in this little house all night
Yeah,
long, but we're busy. We got busy nights ahead of us. If you want more of that, follow what Laila's going to be putting up on agentsfandom.com because she is always giving us the best Mandalorian content. And head over to the Fandom Academy podcast, one of the amazing podcasts on the Agents Fandom Podcast Network, because they're going to be diving into the Mandalorian even more as well. But the last thing I want to talk about here from this episode is something that I didn't realize it until literally just now as we were talking, but I actually think some previous scenes from this season got a bigger payoff than I potentially realized. And now maybe this is me giving the writers too much credit. Maybe this is me going with
Don't you dare do that.
some Favreau-eyed glasses a little bit. But, Din Djarin got pulled into the waters by a mythosaur. He didn't see it, but he got pulled in by one. Bo-Katan sees the mythosaur. And now, we kind of go about that thinking as viewers like that's coincidence. The armorer is telling Bo-Katan like, no, this is not coincidence. When you walk the way, things happen, And we kind of were just like, well, what does this mean? We just saw it happen. It was just whatever. It was coincidence. They went to a place that nobody's been for a long time, right? The end of this episode, we see Grogu kind of waking up this mythosaur with the Force, is what I think we're meant to insinuate there. This to me kind of says, this is how I got it, and if you guys got something different, I want to hear everybody's take. But what I got about this was that Grogu is going to be and now that he is a Mandalorian, he got adopted. He is a Mandalorian now. Grogu is going to be a very centered character in Mandalorian culture, potentially being the one to tame the mythosaur based on what we saw, and maybe Din and Bo-Katan interacted with this mythosaur from fate, from the Force, whatever it is, because they have their fates intertwined with Grogu. What do you think about that one, Adam?
I think I pretty much agree with everything that you said. We were talking about it in the chat, and I was having a discussion about it with Damon on Twitter, where I was like, I really think it would be like I was worried that we just weren't going to see the mythosaur again, and I know it was the kind of thing where some people thought that if you just like the mythosaur kind of was served as a device to help Bo-Katan get to where she needed to be, and we didn't need to see him again. But to me, the mythosaur is such a like an important figure in Mandalorian culture and in their lives. And like this season has been so much about more than just Din and Grogu, even though I wasn't like a fan of that at all times. But like it was about the Mandalorian people as a whole. And I felt like it would have been a mistake to show him and then not bring him back. So then when they did, I'll make a reference that I'm sure you guys will enjoy here. I'll just finished the first season of Rebels. And I'm working my way through the second season now. And one of the things I love so much is seeing Ezra form that connection with the animals like he does like several times. And it's so funny because I think I watched like those episodes within like a day of each other when Ezra like calms all the animals that are attacking Kanan or attacking him and Kanan. And then Grogu does this, like he reaches out with the Force and he feels the mythosaur, and it's like they form this connection. And I immediately thought like, okay, Grogu is not only going to be an important character between like him and Din going forward, but he's going to be an important figure like in Mandalorian culture and like in the show as a whole, like not just with his bond to Din and Grogu. Like I think there's a path for him with like a leadership type position just based off that moment. So like I agree with you. So I think it's definitely like really, really meaningful.
You know, Chad is talking about right now how the chest plate that Grogu never got paid off either. This is kind of something that they gave him this little plate. Maybe we thought that was going to come into battle, something like that. I actually do think that we got a payoff there because what was on that chest plate?
Was it a mythosaur symbol?
Mythosaur.
A mythosaur symbol. And so I think it was less, this is going to come up in battle, and more, this is symbolic that Grogu is going to be the one who tames the mythosaur in the future. What do you think, Garrett?
I think I agree. I was kind of going to dive into the Ezra sentiment as well, and in the terms of some Force users are more sensitive to the animal realm, so I could see, him making the connection on that level, and it would make sense. I still think, like, is that a payoff? No, not really. It seems like we're doing mental gymnastics to try to pay something off, which is, that I'm okay with doing mental gymnastics sometimes, not with things that should be fucking easy. And it's, by the way, if this is going to be paid off in another season, that's fine too. This is a minor thing. This is not something I need paid off in a season finale. Like who the spies are and why are we mining Beskar, and why are we have Force sensitive clones now that we're just like, there's just so, why are we focusing on the dumb stuff when we could be focusing on the stuff that we need to be focusing on narratively? So yeah, I mean, I agree with your first sentiment. I don't know if I agree with your second sentiment.
Laila, what do you think it means that Grogu was able to awaken the mythosaur like this? What do you think it's going to... You wrote an amazing article up at agentsofandom.com explaining to everyone what a mythosaur is. What do you think Grogu and the mythosaur's connection is going to be in future seasons?
To be honest, until now, I didn't really see it as him awakening the mythosaur. I just thought he could, like, sense it, and it was just, like, chilling there. I don't know. It's a difficult thing, because obviously until, like, a few, probably weeks ago in that time, they didn't know the mythosaur still existed, and it's just still this big thing that's in Mandalorian lore and their beliefs, and it unites the people. Woohoo! But, like, I don't think Grogu's gonna tame it. I think that's a reach, to be honest. Like, he's 50 years old right now, okay? And he's still a little baby. I don't think he's gonna be able to ride a mythosaur. He's literally like a foot tall or whatever. It would be great, and someone's gotta do it, but I don't think it will be Grogu. And, yeah, I don't know. He's probably just looking into a wall being like, ooh, who's down there? A new friend, yay.
Here's the thing. I don't even know if necessarily this is going to be a next season payoff, because Carlos brings up a great point in chat that this season basically ends with them going, all right, Carson Tiva, how about next season you get us doing what you were going to have Gina Carano do? Like, that's
Yeah.
basically what
Trigger warning.
what they said. Yeah, what they said. Sorry, Layla. What they set it up for season 4 here. But here's kind of my pitch, and I'm going to leave it rhetorical for us to ponder on because we got to get out of here. What if we don't see the Mythosaur again next season? But what if they really are playing the long game with some of this stuff? And when we see Rey's new Jedi Order in this movie that's supposed to be set 15 years after uh, 15 years after the sequel trilogy, we go visit Grogu and he's just riding on a fucking mythosaur taming this shit with a whole ass Mandalorian army behind him.
If that's the case, then they teased it poorly in this season. If that's the case, we don't have to. Then Bo doesn't have to see the Mythosaur at all. We can just end the season how we do, and no one knows about it. And then now someone knows about it. Now if we don't broach the subject in the next season, we've narratively failed.
Yeah.
But I would expect that
on,
based on how this season went. So.
No, I'm with you on that. It's just like, to me, though, to kick it back a little bit, I'll say I don't really think that like Grogu's connection that I think he made with the Mythosaur at the end of the episode, I don't think that necessarily. I think that's more nuanced and more symbolic, instead of like literally meaning like in the next season or something that we're gonna see him riding it. Because like Layla said, he's a foot tall. There's literally no way he could ride that thing. Like unless it's at least like 100 years from. It's way too big for him to ride it. So I think it's more just like a symbol. Meant to be a symbol that like he is gonna be like a big figure for them going forward. Like that's kind of what I think, at least like about the whole Mythosaur type thing.
I'm less picturing in my headcanon, in my brain, I'm less picturing Grogu riding it like a horse, and more so the Mythosaur being the Chewbacca to Grogu's Han Solo. That's kind of what I'm picturing here. It's just the two of them being best buds, running around, causing all kinds of chaos. But the next Star Wars show we're going to be covering here on the Agents of Fandom podcast is going to be Ahsoka. The next show we're going to be covering on a week-to-week basis is going to be Secret Invasion. We're going to be filling in the gaps with some fun games and some fun content between them. But the next one that we're going to be following ever so closely is Secret Invasion. And of course, in 2 weeks, we got Guardians of the Galaxy coming up that we are, of course, very excited for. So next week, we're going to throw a Guardians of the Galaxy primer your way. And then after that, we're finally going to be diving into this movie. We hopefully have some fun interviews coming. Fingers crossed that everything gets through, but we got some really fun opportunities, and some of our wonderful agents going to get some early screenings to go see this movie. Layla, before we get out of here, talk to me about what the heck is Fandom Academy, and then where can the people find you on socials?
I don't know what that is. It sounds like a very, very fun podcast that you should definitely listen to. I host it with my best friends, CJ and Jaden. They're the best. We've been covering pretty much everything that has ever come out in the last few weeks. We just kind of pile everything together and have fun with it. I don't know. We've had some cool guests on as well in the last few weeks. But yeah, it's really great. Closing thoughts. Fucking love the season of The Mandalorian. No one's going to change that. I will listen to you complain about it all day, but I will just be sat here shaking my head. No, it was great.
As you should.
And I loved it so much. That's all I'm going to do. Anyways, you can find me on all socials at FalconsNap. And like people were mentioning in the chat, Star Wars Visions Volume 2 comes out on the 4th of May at Star Wars Celebration. We got to watch the first episode, and it was genuinely one of like the cutest things I've ever seen. It was so great. Please go and watch Star Wars Visions when it comes out. I just know that's going to be so great. The first season was great, and you will love this one. But yeah, thank you for having me. This was very fun.
Thank you for coming as always, and we'll definitely have you back on ASAP. And yeah, Star Wars Visions, that's another one that's sitting in my screener inbox right now that I gotta watch. I gotta watch Sweet Tooth Season 2. Just got Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story popped in there that I'll be firing a review up. And later tonight, I will have my Ghosted review with Anna de Armas and Chris Evans coming to Apple TV Plus on Thursday the 21st. And you can find that on agentsoffandom.com as well. On behalf of our amazing guest, Laila, and oh, wait. Hit the like button on your way out. Rate us the 5 stars, all those good things. But also make sure you're checking out all the podcasts on the Agents of Fandom podcast network, including Fandom Academy, Ticket to Reality, Listen 3000. And I think that's actually it for podcasts because, you know, the critics and Comic Corner, those are YouTube shows. Those are not podcasts. Those are YouTube shows. And it's some of the best damn video content you will ever see in your life. So make sure you check that out as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. On behalf of myself, our wonderful guest, Laila, Garrett, Adam, my 2 buddies with me all the time who are always crushing it, and of course, Ruben behind the scenes. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Oh yeah, and Puppy Ezra and Puppy Sabine as well.
Yay!
We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.
This is the way.